it's Dr. Jenny and Dr. Daniel from Spinal Corrective Center in Amherst, New Hampshire. And we're going to have a series called A Beginner's Guide to Chiropractic. It's interesting, we take for granted that people know what chiropractic is. But, you know, I know that there's a lot of people who just don't fully understand what chiropractic and what chiropractors actually do. So I thought we'd start today, which, by the way, we just had to go outside. It's so beautiful here. And it might be a little loud, but I'm sure you won't mind. We wanted to talk about what is chiropractic and how do you become a chiropractor. Okay. So let's start with like the basics of, you know, maybe you're looking for a second career, or maybe you're graduating high school or in college and you're thinking, I think I might want to be a chiropractor. Like how would you become a chiropractor? So I thought that Dr. Daniel should talk a little bit about this because you graduated not too long ago, and it was not an easy journey.
No, not really.
It's a lot of work, a lot more than people would think. So so tell us kind of like what you did along the way to get your degree.
Okay, so I went to undergrad and got my bachelor's in science. So it was more of like a pre-med thing. So a lot of the people in my classes went on to go to medical school. So we were all in the same boat together, taking those pre-med classes, so your basic sciences, anatomy, biochemistry, whatever.
Organic chemistry.
All that
biology,
fun stuff. Yes. And then from there, you go on to a chiropractic school.
Yes.
So you don't have to have a bachelor's degree to become a chiropractor, depending on what state you go to.
Most do. Some, it's a specified 90 hours of science, so it's close to the bachelor's.
It is, but it's definitely a good idea to get your bachelor's because you don't know what state you're going to be practicing in. So
I did my bachelor's concurrently, so I went into chiropractic school with like 95 hours, which almost was a bachelor's. Yep. And I was able to take my last several courses while I was in chiropractic school. So it was a big load.
Yeah, and some of my friends did the same thing while they were there.
But I got the bachelor's degree.
Yep, which is important. And then at chiropractic school, you don't have to take, you know, some people, if you're going to medical school, you take the MCAT, the tests to determine, you know, scores to get into your medical schools. For chiropractic, you don't have to take that. Some people say it's easier to get into chiropractic school, but I do know it is pretty challenging to stay in chiropractic school.
I think that's true. Yeah, there's a higher dropout rate. It's easier to get in, but harder to stay in.
There were a lot of students that started with me when I started and then didn't make it through the program because of just the difficulty of the course load. Yeah. So then it was 3.5 years straight through of chiropractic school, so no summer breaks.
It's a 5-year curriculum if you take summer breaks.
Yes, and it's intense. There's a heavy basic sciences in the beginning, and which then slowly moves on, incorporating more of the clinical aspect of chiropractic. So the technique and then philosophy classes on chiropractic, and then diagnosis classes, imaging classes for X-ray.
Oh, that X-ray class at 7:30 in the morning, sitting in the dark for 2 hours, that was not fun.
No. And then after a good 2.5 years of just sitting in classes, then you start entering into more of the application part of it, where you're in a clinic practicing under the supervision of a case doctor or two, and you see your own patients, and you schedule them, and you do the paperwork, and write up the reports, and adjust them. So you have a good deal of clinic hours. Like we had to get around 900 or so clinic hours just in there doing the work.
So what's great to know is when you have a newer doctor come into practice, they've actually been in a practice for quite a long time, working on patients for quite a long time.
Yep.
And then there's the board exams. Woo, not easy.
Yeah, so after you pass all of your tests and your finals for your particular school, then you have to take 4 rounds of national board exams to become nationally certified. So that was...
And there's even chiropractors that graduate and can't pass national boards, and they end up not practicing.
I know a few chiropractors who have graduated school and are still trying to take those national board exams.
And part 4 is all clinical, so you're actually setting up to adjust, you're looking at x-rays, so it's very clinical. And then there's the state exam that you have to pass for each individual state, and some states are really hard to get a degree in practicing, and some are easier, but it just depends on the state.
Yep. So it's a pretty long process, very involved.
And I think what's great about it is when you come out, you have a doctorate of chiropractic degree, or a doctor of chiropractic degree. So the course load, it's similar to, say, a veterinarian doctor or a medical doctor. It's just a chiropractic doctor. So we don't learn about pharmaceuticals because we don't prescribe medication, and we don't learn about surgery because we don't perform surgery, but we learn how to analyze and adjust the spine because that is our specialty.
and a lot about imaging and X-rays, and then even just looking at the person, the whole body, and trying to figure out other things that are going on, just to make sure that we have a good understanding of health and diseases.
And I think probably that the way to sum it up that may be not commonly known is that chiropractors, they focus on the spine, but that's because the spine houses the nervous system. So we're actually nervous system specialists. And really a lot of people come to us because of nervous system disorders. Great. Be well, everybody.